Well, hello again. Welcome to tonight's class. And today, I'm going to share with you how some of the most successful artists in the world use stress to fuel their art, their music, or whatever it is they choose to create. And the mechanism behind how all of this works in our brains might surprise you. So the good news here is that you can do this too once you understand how it works. When I create these videos, my purpose is to make you think. And so I have a thought-provoking question for you tonight. Can stress be good? It can't all be bad, right? You would think. Now, there's no doubt about it. It's a question that I get all the time. No matter where I go, when I see you guys in public and you come up to me, you always ask me about 10 questions, and this is one of them. You know, we all know that chronic stress can be a real pain in the... But what if I told you that there were some benefits to chronic stress? Now, I've been diagnosed with chronic stress, and it almost sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it, that it could be good for you. But the truth is, believe it or not, there's some real evidence to suggest that stress can have positive effects on our overall health. And tonight's class, we're going to take a closer look at the benefits of acute stress and how you can learn to embrace it. So stay with us, because what you're about to learn is a lot when it comes to your own personal stress response. And I want you to have this information because it's so important. So what are the benefits of stress? Now, that's a question that I bet you've never thought about in your entire life. So for one, positive stress can help to motivate us in our own personal growth, but it can also help with stress management in general, which helps regulate negative health effects like blood pressure, for example. Focusing on your own well-being and creating healthy ways to relax for a few hours is vital when it comes to living a stress-free modern life. The world that we live in today is very different from any other time in history, so it requires creative solutions. A stressful situation doesn't have to ruin your day. When we're under pressure to meet a deadline or complete a task, the added negative stress can actually help us to focus and get the job done. And in addition, that stressful event can also lead to increased creativity. Now, this is something that I have experienced in my own career. You know, it's crazy to think that you could use stress in a positive way, but you can. When I was producing here in Las Vegas, I had the honor and the pleasure to work on some of the largest touring shows and work with some of the biggest A-list residencies for artists like Cher and Britney Spears, Pink, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, and so many more that I got a chance to be involved in their productions. And through this process, I learned a lot about using stress creatively. These productions are massive, and there are millions of dollars on the line with every tiny decision that you make. So as a producer, every decision you make really counts. Your job is on the line. Now, talking about real stress, that's a level of stress that most people cannot handle. I have personally seen it absolutely destroy people from the inside out because there is so much pressure from the record companies to the touring companies to the production team and the artists themselves. However, I learned to use this high pressure stress to fuel me and make me better at what I did. And I realized after a while that when I was under the greatest amount of stress and pressure, I was actually at my best creatively. So I took a mental note of that and I started looking for ways that I could use this. It seemed to me that all that pressure actually triggered my creativity, which made me feel more in control and therefore allowed me to be more calm and produce some of my greatest ideas, which I guess is how I earned the reputation in the industry as an idea guy. People come to me when they need that crazy, over-the-top, bonkers effect in their show. It's all a matter of perspective. And this discovery of stress triggering my creativity caught me completely off guard. And so I began talking to people about this very topic. And I learned something really, really intriguing. And I talked to a wide variety of people, everyone from the stagehands who move the equipment in and out of the boxes and things of that nature, all the way up to the celebrities themselves. And what I found was that some of the most successful people in the world have credited their success to the fact that they learned to embrace stress and use it to their advantage. In other words, they have learned how to harness the power of thought. Think about that. Really think about that. What is possible if you learned to harness the power of thought? Some have even reported feeling more alive after embracing a stressful situation. I'll give you a great example of this. When an artist creates, let's say a painter, for example, anytime you have a creative person, they're usually a high-functioning person and they're usually very stressed out, type A type personality. And let's say we're talking about a painter. Often they report feeling stressed and pressured to create before they even begin the creative process. Like before they even pick up a brush or even touch their paints. That stress response has already been triggered in them because they know they're about to create. And sometimes it can shut them down. What I'm about to reveal is super important. I want you to pay very close attention to this and really, really think about it. The stress they feel is the motivation. And the act of creating their art is the release or the expression of that stress. So I discovered in my career that a lot of art comes from what I like to call happy accidents. So let me explain to you what that means. That's when the artist uses his or her stress to create, and within that creative process, an accident happens that wasn't planned. Now that's very important because as you're painting, you're sculpting, or you're doing your thing, suddenly something emerges that you weren't expecting. But they suddenly see its raw beauty and they just go with it. They allow the creativity to flow through them and they become a vessel in which the energy is just flowing through them. And that is when the artist has used the artistic accident as divine inspiration that ultimately becomes their art. Listen to that very carefully because it's extremely profound if you get it. I want to say it again because it's that important. I love this topic, as you can tell. I'm very passionate about this. But when the artist has fully embraced their own stress, which is to say, they don't fear it or allow it to control them, they allow it to flow through them, they are then able to use the unexpected artistic accident as divine inspiration that ultimately becomes better than what they had imagined, becomes their art. Let that sink in for a minute, because the possibilities are endless when you will learn how to use your demons. When you learn skills like this, it takes you to a completely different vibrational level that allows you to think, feel, and even create on a different energetic level. It actually elevates your vibrational frequencies, which means you will attract better things on that level. When we notice stress pushing us, we can learn to embrace it and allow the stress to just flow through us as well, with no judgment, no scary thoughts. You don't compartmentalize it and put it in a box and say, oh, it's this. You don't label it. You don't use any kind of a label. You just simply become the vessel in which you allow it to flow through you. You just allow it to be, acknowledging it for only exactly what it is, and then you allow it to flow through you without assigning any meaning to it whatsoever. Look for its unfiltered, raw beauty, because it's there, but only if you have the eyes to be able to see it. Now, you might ask yourself when you're feeling stressed, why am I feeling stressed, and how can I use this energy in a more productive and positive way? If you're asking yourself questions like that, you're already thinking on a level that's above most people. And the answer might surprise you. Of course, it's important to remember that too much stress can certainly be a very bad thing. That's why it's important to find that balance between managing your stress and being able to use it to your advantage. You know how I feel about balance. I think that balance is stagnation and nothing happens. I've talked about this a lot. So I like things to be just slightly off kilter. Learning how to do this, though, can be tough, but it's definitely worth the effort. I have taught a lot of celebrities with stage fright how to overcome their stage fright using these techniques. Your brain is going to do everything that it can to convince you to be negative, to panic, to freak out, because you have been socially conditioned your entire life to default to your panic mode whenever you feel the slightest bit uncomfortable. That, my friend, is a scientific fact. I see this with my coaching clients every single day. I have so many clients that struggle with this, and I tell them, instead of fighting your anxiety, learn to use it. One of the most difficult skills that I teach people is how to deprogram themselves from decades of unhealthy behaviors. So, how can stress be good for us? Well, there are many ways, and they might surprise you. I'll give you a few examples here. So, obviously it can help to motivate us if you choose to see it in that perspective. It can lead to increased creativity, as it does with me, when I put myself in that state of being. It can help us to focus and to get the job done. That's another way of using your stress and anxiety to your advantage. It can also be a source of inspiration for art. And it doesn't matter what kind of art that is: performance art, painting, sculpting, pottery, sewing, singing, anything. And it can remind us also to take care of our own health. It can also help improve our memory and even our cognitive functioning, because stress can make you think if you teach yourself to view it that way. It can help fight depression, and it can even lead to better sleep, believe it or not. Now that sounds completely counterintuitive, and I'll do another episode on that. But it can also help us appreciate the good moments more. You know, it can give us reference to appreciate when things are going well. There are so many ways that we can use stress to our advantage if only we stop and think about it. And that's the key. You have to think. Stress can have a lot of different effects on our bodies that are both good and bad. And it's all in how you learn to manage it. And while it's important to manage our stress levels so that we don't become overwhelmed, there are some benefits to be had from milder forms of stress. I'll give you an example. Did you know that moderate stress can actually boost your immune system? Now, to some people, that might sound very strange. You're thinking, stress, that's bad, it tears you down. No, it can actually make you better. Again, this sounds completely counterintuitive, but it's true. And here is why. Moderate stress can actually boost your immune system and help you to fight off the really bad stuff. And we don't think of it that way. But when we're stressed, our bodies release a hormone called cortisol. And this little hormone can be a nasty little beast, but it can also work in our benefit. Cortisol helps to regulate our metabolism and has an anti-inflammatory effect as well. And that's really important because inflammation in the brain is a cause of stress. So this can help to protect us against diseases and even infections. And so, in addition, cortisol also helps to increase our levels of white blood cells, which are important for fighting off illness. If you don't have enough white blood cells, your immune system is going to be weakened and you're going to get an opportunistic infection. And so cortisol is often referred to as the stress hormone. And I don't like to call it that because it has a negative connotation, but it's true. And it's released by our bodies in response to stress when we are triggered by something that causes our body's fight or flight response to be activated. You all know what that is, and you've all experienced that. But here is the real secret. It's in learning the skills to use stress instead of allowing it to use you. Most stressed out people just throw their hands up and let stress do whatever it wants to do with them. Well, you're a victim if you do that. So we have to take control. That's what you've been doing for your entire life. And so how has that worked out for you? And we all know that if you will just learn some simple skills and really implement them in your life, you can make big changes. So isn't it time to learn something new so that you can begin to produce better results in your life? Most people view stress as a negative thing, but it can actually be quite helpful if you use it in the right way. But you have to know how. And that's what I'm here for. For instance, stress can help you stay motivated and focused on your goals, as we've mentioned, but it can also give you a sense of urgency that can help you get things done more quickly. And while too much stress can certainly be harmful, we all know that, my life is proof, a little bit of stress can actually be helpful in getting you to perform at your best. I think my production career completely transformed when I learned this. So it had a positive effect on my income. So why do people think of our stress response in such negative terms? Well, the short answer is social conditioning. We have been programmed our entire lives to think of stress as a negative thing because it can lead to physical and mental health problems. Yes, it can, but it doesn't have to. And when we're stressed, our bodies release hormones that can make us feel anxious and irritable and even physically ill. I know one particular celebrity that I coach literally throws up before she walks out on stage every single time. She's a country music star, and it's a horrible thing to watch, but we've gotten it better over time. So it can affect your mental health. Stress can also cause us to lose focus and have difficulty thinking clearly, which is what I like to call the anxiety fog. You know, it's when you're walking around in this anxiety fog and you just can't think. And if we're constantly under stress, it can lead to more serious health problems like heart disease, stroke, depression, so many more. The list is endless. And I have spent years dealing with all kinds of anxiety-related issues, not just in my own life, but with lots of other people that I have counseled and coached over the years. I've been doing this a long time, 20 years now. And so I know the devastation that chronic stress can cause in one's life because I've been where you are. I really have. You know, you might look at me today and think, well, you seem pretty okay, but I'm a human being. I have stressed out days. I get depressed. I have broken days just like you. And I know what it feels like to just sleep the day away because you can't bear to face the world for one more second. I know that feeling. I've been there. And that's why I created my course, to teach people how I crawled my way out of that deep, dark, depressing, scary hole. And if I can do it, so can you. Once you know how. So the next time that you're feeling stressed out, try to focus on the positive effects of stress and how you can use it to improve your life. Remember to use yourself as a vessel. Just allow it to flow through you. Don't stop it. Don't stop and hold on to the energy. Let it go. When you learn to do this, you may find that stress isn't quite as bad as you thought it was. And it can actually empower you. You know, this is something that I've been preaching for years. I've been trying to get people to understand that it doesn't have to be bad. A simple shift in the way you think can change everything. And you might even start to enjoy a little bit of stress in your life. I hope that if you've learned anything in this class, you'll hit that subscribe button and continue to join me each week as we learn more about how this crazy brain of ours actually works. I want to thank you for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I love the comments, and I love the support and all the love that I get from you guys each and every week. Take care of yourself and each other, and I'll see you next week.